Two, one. Fred Slow, what's up, dude?
Noah, thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for coming in.
That's your open?
Yeah.
That's not it.
Now we just get right into it.
I'm sharing with you a Coke Zero drink.
That's a lot better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, this Coca-Cola. The Coke Zero is as good as Coca-Cola. And if you tell me otherwise, I'll ask you what other things you lie about.
Oh, no, I agree.
But yeah, this is a tremendous thing. I got on this. My dad died last year. You jump into it. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So my dad died last year. And me and my brother went and got a blood test. We were going to see if we had what killed my dad. That was the plan, right? And so we get these blood tests back, and they're like, no, you're good. You don't have the thing that killed your father. And me and my brother go, okay, that's nice. And then they say, how about you eat more sugar, though, Bubba? Or less sugar. And I go, yeah, no, less sugar.
Say, what doctor told you to eat more sugar?
So they were like, yeah, Bubba, you need less sugar in your life. So I made the jump from, I grew up in the Midwest. I'm a St. Louis boy. I made the jump from Bud Lights. I made the jump from sweet teas. I made the jump from Coca-Colas to everything sugar-free. So if you're listening, Coca-Cola, call your boy, Swire, because I would be excited to have you as a part of this.
Well, how much sugar is in a Bud Light? A lot?
It's carbs. Carbs does
Oh,
that.
right.
Your body does.
Right. How it metabolizes. Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you for having me here, though. This is a beautiful little setup. I don't know if all your fans or listeners are aware, but you put a little bit of effort in here. This is good.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to have you here. I do my best to make it look good on camera, at least. I'm trying to figure out the wallpaper, maybe change the... I don't love the white in between all of the frames, so I'm considering putting some renter-friendly wallpaper.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
A lot of New Mexicans I meet have told me they don't love the whites, so I get it. This super tracks.
Oh, that's funny.
You got a formal introduction for me? How do you do your rundowns? I got you.
Well, I mean, you need no introduction as
That's
far as New Mexico does, man. You
That's
fucking
kind.
Legend on the radio, heavily involved with the Duke City Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, trying real hard, right?
What else do you do, man?
I'm fortunate. That's the truth, though. I brought you a little gift. I don't know if you saw that there. So the Duke City Championship Wrestling, which is now...
shirt.
Yeah, branded
Beautiful shirt.
NWA New Mexico. We do have a partnership with the National Wrestling Alliance, which is just incredible. That's a long story in itself if we're going to tell the wrestling story. But, yeah, it's NWA is owned by Billy Corgan.
Of Smashing Pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Yeah.
And how fortunate I have been in my professional world to connect with people with a lot of talent, often more talent than me. I sat down with him and talked about the product we create and kind of what our vision is here in the Southwest and, our ownership group, which is just diverse and incredible and fun. We put what was a really fun, presentable, and I don't know necessarily if Albuquerquean or pro wrestling fan or Duke Cityan is aware, but it's lightning in a bottle here with pro wrestling. We've done this show in Las Cruces, we've done the show in Clovis, we've done the show in Portales, we've done the show, all over the state. And when we're able to put, 300 to 500 people in the historic El Rey Theater and, blow the literal roof off of it, it's an incredible thing. And WWE's coming here in November with a live Raw, which is going to be very, very good. Please join us. We have a suite. Please join us for that.
Oh, I'm never going to say no to that. Thank you.
But yeah, it's how fortunate we are to have breathed a little bit of life into what the state and the state athletic commission had, all but essentially killed, for the last 20 years. Because this is...
Explain that a little bit. What do you mean?
Oh, man, there's a complexity. I know you live in the world of politics, so I'll help you out a little bit here. Also, full transparency, my business partner is Darren White, and Darren White's running for mayor. So
Hey, Darren, check your email. Tell your team to check your email.
I'll put you in a group text.
I'll bite my tongue a little bit.
And that's the thing here, right? Where we're so polarized in so many things, and I've lived here 8 years, and I'm going to tell you, when I first drove down Juan Tabo 8 years ago, it looks a lot worse today than it looked 8 years ago.
That's not even debatable. And the idea that could be a polarizing statement is lunacy.
It's lunacy.
It's actual lunacy.
Yeah.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the amazing people over at Chopped Chili. Guys, this is personally my favorite chili brand here in the state of New Mexico, and you can find them online at choppedchilico.com. You can also find them all across the state of New Mexico at Sprouts, Albertsons, Smith's, and a bunch of other stores in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces. I believe they're even down in El Paso now. They sell red and green chili, of course. My personal favorite is this blend of red and green, and they also sell online frozen bags of green chili. So again, go to chopchilico.com to get yourself some amazing chili today. Now back to the podcast. And I mean, regardless of how you feel about how the current mayor's running things, how the governor's running things, regardless of how you feel about policies and how they're being implemented, the results are not good.
People need to be better. Yeah. And I don't just mean off. I mean to others, for themselves, to the community. And it's infuriating to me. I have a day job. I run the Boys and Girls Club. I know we're going to hit on a bunch of stuff. But, the pro wrestling, the State Athletic Commission. So, pro wrestling in the late 80s was pushed through the State Athletic Commission as a legitimate sporting contest, combat sports. It's comparable by rule in the state of New Mexico to boxing or kickboxing or UFC, which was amended in 2003. But outside of that, not since 1988 has anything been added to the State Athletic Commission or removed outside of MMA fighting. With that said, this was all work from Vince McMahon years ago. And he came in and there's $100 handshakes and it was, hey, we need to legitimize pro wrestling. Everyone's figuring out kayfabe. Everyone's on to us as a gimmick. What can we do to legitimize?
I have to ask, what was the initial roadblock from keeping and not having it legitimized? Is it because it was a scripted sport? Is it because...
So it was unregulated here as it currently is everywhere except for 4 states.
Okay.
So Missouri, Oklahoma, New York, and us. You'll run into some stuff in Louisiana. It's not real bad. With that said, because there's no confusion to the theater that it is. Right. But here in the state of New Mexico, there are these obstacles, these roadblocks. And I'll just give you an example. You don't pay GRT on your ticket sales for pro wrestling. You pay a state mandated tax on your ticket sales, and that's a negotiable tax, right? So the idea is there's statutes and there's suggestions that the Athletic Commission can follow. And then from there, I'll just give you an example. 10% on closed circuit television, cable television, pay-per-view television, and now live stream, because we're living in that age, right? So for the last 20 whatever years, you had SmackDown in 2002, ? And then AEW came earlier this year. And now WWE is coming. And the real problem is if you show up here to do a combat sports event, you're going to pay that out, right? So I don't know what WWE and TKO makes per aired episode of streaming Raw on Netflix, but I promise you it's millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. And they do not want to give up 10% of that to the state as a revenue, right? So the big eye-opener was right before COVID. Do you remember COVID?
Does that not feel like a distant memory? It happened.
Yeah, it was here.
But it's like a weird portal that we entered to, and now we're slowly coming out of it.
Yeah. And some of us for the better and a lot of us for the worse, right? Yeah. And there was a numbered UFC event right before COVID at the Rio Rancho Event Center. And this numbered UFC event is the biggest gate in the history of the Rio Rancho Event Center. I know what the number is, but it's not mine to share on this program, right? So you take that number that is multiple times over hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're like, well, now whatever they streamed out, that percent has to go to the state. Now, how would you be able to negotiate that down, right? So you end up in a situation where it's, hey, maybe you pay less in your advertising sales if you afford more opportunity for state officials or state whoever to have ringside access or backside, whatever. And it ends up in this really confusing organization on what do they do, what don't they do. Well, I'm going to tell you the leadership that was there at that time is no longer there because you end up in a good old boy situation. So whenever we first started to start pro wrestling, this is a tricky sentence. When we first had to plan to start pro wrestling, it was, hey, you have to use these certain insurance providers. You have to use these certain bond providers. You have to use these certain medical professionals. You have to use these things. And me as Duke City Championship Wrestling LLC and my business partners, no, we don't. That is not.
Yeah, why are they telling you what you have to use?
Well, because they had a process that they were real comfortable with. And as you know me and I know how entertainment works, it's real easy to get inside of that little network and then be set up for success. Well, I'm not from New Mexico. I'm not the guy that grew up here and knows everyone whose last name ends in a vowel. I'm not him. I came in from St. Louis, Missouri, which is a big city. And I said, hey, I'm here to recreate wrestling at the Chase, which if you're a historian of the sport, you're going to know exactly what that is. And if not, it's a format that's single day a week, preferably Thursdays, because I really don't like to interfere with high school athletics. I really don't like to interfere with college athletics. I really don't like to interfere with kids. You know, the idea is we do it on Thursday. Thursday's a free night. There's no more must-see TV. Like, you get out and you do the event with your family, and then you can spend that whole weekend at soccer practice or Yaffle football or whatever thing you're doing in your life. With that said, multiple TV tapings once a month, and then you air them on your local television. So that's what we did for the first year. It worked really well.
And what year is this again?
We started 2 years ago, so it's 2023.
Okay.
So in 2023, we hit the ground running. We run for about 6 months, and the NWA calls us, and they say, hey, you're doing some wild stuff. I'm like, thank you. That's wildly kind. I'm actually got to back up 2 steps to go one forward. I also work for WWE stuff. I do some stuff. Cool. So I'm out at Tampa Bay for the Royal Rumble. This would have been in 24, right? So I'm out in Tampa Bay with doing some day job stuff, but I'm hanging out with like before he was signed, like Jacob Fatu and like all these guys, and we're doing this. That was a name drop that wasn't supposed to be. But I'm getting access to some stuff, right?
Yeah.
And go out there to see Brian Idol, and Brian Idol runs all of the territories for the NWA, and I know this because homework, right? So I go out there, I'm like, hey, Brian, my name's Fred Slow. We've been doing this for 6 months now. We have this TV product. I'm really proud of our audiences. Would you have any interest? And he's like, interest in what? I'm like, seeing my value. Come out, work, be a guy. Came out and work. He's the brightest mind I've ever met in all of pro wrestling. So he comes out and he starts taking it in because they do studio pro wrestling. They do maybe 100 people, and they do canned music, and it's really good studio pro wrestling. I think it's the best studio pro wrestling for an indie in the entire country. With that said, we do live events that we turn into TV. So Brian comes out, and before we know it, Billy wants to have conversations, and we're going to merge the brands and do some stuff. So January of this year, we worked a deal for NWA New Mexico, the 7th territory under the NWA banner, and now almost stretching entirely to the West Coast, which, if able, I'd love to be a part of that too. But live events to television, to now, in theory, franchise opportunity if we do this thing right. So pro wrestling as a money-making industry as opposed to pro wrestling by fanatics.
And what I'm curious about, too, with pro wrestling is I see a lot of it. I see it the same way right now. Because, again, like, I am a fan of pro wrestling, like, from a bird's eye view.
Sure.
Like, I can name, like, the wrestlers that I really enjoyed growing up watching.
Yes.
I played all the video games and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, like, the behind the scenes of it, like the in-depth of it, you know what I mean? And the way I see it right now is kind of how I saw stand-up before I started doing stand-up, where you see the big guys at the top, but how in the world do you get there? So what I'm curious about is when you're starting, well, a few things, but when you're starting Duke City Pro Wrestling here, where are you even sourcing the talent from?
Yeah, great question.
You know what I mean? Because it's things like comedians, like maybe you've heard of the term open mic. To the layman, like to the layman though, right? It's like you might know what an open mic is. You might have ran into a bar and seen one, but you literally just see the big guys. So where are you sourcing pro wrestlers from at a level like they're clearly not these massive names like John Cena?
Sure,
but you still need talent.
Yeah, you're asking great questions. The truth of it is 2 parts to address. One, you're talking about your fandom. Your fandom is perfect. Your fandom of pro wrestling is the exact amount of fandom that you should have for pro wrestling. There's this idiocracy that you have to minimize or maximize your complete understanding of discographies or videographies or pro wrestling or video game lore or Magic the Gathering or Asian created cartoons that I'm not familiar with. There's this idea that you cannot casually pass in the world today as a fan to the degree that you want to be a fan. And I'm going to tell you the gatekeeping that's associated with that throughout, not just pro wrestling, stand-up comedy. What do you mean you don't know every punchline to Eddie Murphy's? I'll tell you what I mean.
Walk into a room like I have and say that you're not familiar with Mitch Hedberg's work.
Yeah.
And watch everyone's head explode.
They can't handle it.
And I'm just like, sorry, dude. Yeah. I only have so much brain space.
What do you mean you don't love the thing that I love the exact same way that I love it? Well, I'll tell you what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that unrealistic, brother. I mean, I could ask you for your top 5 favorite pro wrestling moments in the history of your whole ass life. I could ask you for that. And you would tell me, You would tell me about Stone Cold Steve Austin's bloody face as Bret Hart has him in the sharpshooter. You would tell me about, and we can run the list, but there's no reason. My five are completely different.
Right.
You know, you're talking about Randy Orton giving the RKO Seth Rollins off a curd stop at WrestleMania in San Francisco. I'm going, yeah, that's a cool ass moment. That's one of the coolest moments. You're talking to me about the pipe bomb. I'm going, yeah, that's a good one too. CM Punk, that's a super good one. I'm going to tell you about whenever Hobo Hank made his debut on NWA. And I was sitting right there in the second row. I got goosebumps as I'm talking to you about it because my very good friend, whose childhood dream was to make it to the highest tier, is now officially an NWA canon. Are you kidding me? Like, pro wrestling is for those who consume it. Allow it to exist that way. And the talent question is excellent. There is a hot spot of talent in Albuquerque as it relates to pro wrestling. A hot spot. So I partnered with Hobo Hank. Hobo Hank, myself, Darren White, who we mentioned earlier, Aaron Burnett. A lot of people are familiar with him. He used to do a thing called the Buck and Dex Show. It was on The Edge. Very funny, very smart. Has his stuff together. And then lastly, my very good friend Fernando Gonzalez, who's just a kind of a media mind. So there's the five of us in the ownership group. So Hobo Hank has wrestled for, at that point, 25 years, now closer to 28. And he knows every name in the Southwest. You know, he's pro wrestling's daddy in the Southwest, as you would call it. And so he goes, he gets a bunch of really good local guys. You know, he gets a bunch of them. And they're great. You know, and we're sitting in our very first show, and it's at the El Rey, and there's, I don't know, maybe 300 people in there, maybe. And they're doing Hobo Hank chants, and they're booing Turbo Tony, and the world is just suspended around us, right? And I go, well, this is the absolute best it's ever going to be. Like, this is the swan song for a lot of people. I was like, but this is the birth of a tremendous thing. And then as we're going through it, talent from Phoenix starts coming in. Okay. Talent from Colorado starts coming in. Denver, a little bit south, Pueblo. I'll go, okay. Talent from Lubbock starts coming in. Talent from Amarillo, now Dallas, now Tampa, now LA, now Vegas. Well, we're not calling these talents. They're calling us. And they're saying, that thing you're doing is really special. That thing you're doing is really unique. I think I can show you this value.
But where are these guys? Like, where are they training? Like, in their cities? Because you don't hear. Are there gyms for pro wrestling training? And like,
yeah, I have one.
Okay, but before you show up though, is that like a regular thing in Albuquerque where people are going to this gym to go train pro wrestling, or they're going down to like El Paso or like? Where are they?
No, it's a great question, right? There was a scene, you know, and then there's 2-3 places in town that are very good at producing really good pro wrestlers. You know, but I think that is difficult to produce is really good characters. You know, so we would get these guys and, oh my God, they can work. I mean, these are guys that can take every bump and deliver every bump and entertain a crowd, you know, with all the physicality of the sport. But the guys who have the real big personalities, these are guys who developed it, getting booked elsewhere. You know this in the world of stand-up. Hey, you could be a great stand-up in Los Lunas. You could be the best stand-up in Los Lunas. Why can't you get booked anywhere else? And that's the same thing in pro wrestling, where if you don't get a chance to go out and let other people see your character, see your gimmick, and help you develop and grow that thing outside of your familiar audience to bring it back refined the way that stand-ups do, I know you guys have a circuit here. I'm not dumb. I know you do here, and you do Los Lunas, and you do Las Cruces and El Paso, and you go over to Tucson, you come to Phoenix, I know how you guys do it. And by the time you get back, after you told that joke 5 different times to 5 different audiences that all look different, that all react different, that joke's way better by the time you get back here. And it's the same thing with pro wrestling. But the guy that, I know you were joking, but not joking about open mics, the guy that goes and does the exact same set every Tuesday at his favorite beer pool is not the guy. I'm not even trying to...
it's a reality though. But there's also with stand-up, I'm glad I learned this lesson very early, is that there's levels to ambition, there's levels to interest, and there's levels to like how seriously do I want to take it? Why am I doing this? Yeah. Am I doing it because I do eventually want to be a pro comedian that makes their money doing this and blah, blah, blah? Or is it just, hey, found a couple people like doing this too. I'm going to go have a beer on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Go down to the brewery. I'm going to say the same joke or the same format of ramblings over and over again and call it a night.
There's value to that.
Yeah.
There's value. I'm in all day on that.
Yeah. But you're not going to necessarily, sharpen the iron that way. Well, I agree.
Well, sure. We've been talking a ton about pro wrestling, right? But how fortunate I am to have hosted daily talk radio for over 10 years now, and how fortunate I am to, for over 20 something years, worked in broadcast radio in some capacity or the other with play-by-play weekly or up till now. I'm never going to host the Tonight Show. Like, it's never going to happen. Like, when I was a kid, also, and no one was telling me I could do that, that wasn't an option. Growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, I had to work on the barge or at the steel mill or the refinery. Like, those are your only options as a kid. And then as I'm like, well, I think I want to host the Tonight Show, I didn't do it. But did I fucking fail? No. Like, I've made so much money telling jokes on the radio. Like, I am the definition of pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Super Bowls and World Series and WrestleManias and Garth Brooks concerts. And, I mean, I've been able to just bucket list my life through stuff with this job. But I never got to the level. I'm not Jimmy Fallon.
Right, yeah, that's what you're saying.
Be cool if I was. Not even close, though. And that's the thing that gets me with stand-up, because stand-up is pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is stand-up. It's all theater.
Right.
And it's both of them, if you break them down, sorry to sound preachy, if you break them down, they're both Shakespeare. Like, it's often 360 degrees of fandom. It's often an audience that's ready to be a part of the show. You can't tell jokes without people laughing. You can't have pro wrestlers without a crowd in attendance. And as vital as that interaction is, and no offense to musicians, they're cool in their own way, but it's so significantly different.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of being a pro. Hey, you catch $20 and a hot dog and a beer and a high five from a kid, you're a professional to me. And I've never took a bump in the ring, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm near the world of pro wrestling. Like, I try.
Right.
I've never hosted the Tonight Show. I'm still a talk show host. Like, it's wild balance. It's a wild balance of success as you deem it the distance you traveled versus success as the distance you want to travel. You're on a spectrum of it, like, all the time.
And so if you're talking about talent, and you're talking about, like, they could have all of the, like, technical skills down and have the physicality of doing the actual sport, but then again, with pro wrestling, it is theater.
Yeah.
You need to have a larger than life personality.
Yeah.
There's this compelling factor that you need to have to propel yourself. Obviously, for people to pay attention to you, but if you want to continue this in any kind of significant way, whether it is local, national, whatever, if you could pump into an algorithm in a computer, if you could figure out a way to build a personality, like what is the alchemy that makes a personality? Like, what's that math equation in your opinion? Like, how do you build a pro wrestling personality? How would you give advice to someone to do that?
Yeah.
Or if you could just mold it out of clay, what does that look like?
It's code switching is what it is. It's the whole existence is just code switching. So it's, if you're going to start off as a pro wrestler, you're going to have a day job. That's number one. So you got to be whatever you are at your day job. You also have to have a family of support. And I mean a family that you either were born into or you were so fortunate to choose. And you have to be whatever role you are in that. If that's father or son or husband or mother or wife or daughter, you have to always maintain those things. And then from there, you have to recognize yourself in, like, your individual moments, right? Because I'm like you. You get done doing a stand-up show, in your head, you don't have to tell me what it is. Like, roll your eyes back and think back to what you identify as the most significant stand-up performance moment of your whole ass career. Find that right now. And then afterwards, after that reaction, after that payoff, after that go home, you, my friend, went to your car and you turned on the key, and it was you and it was your dashboard lights and nothing else.
Right.
And that happens every single time these guys go. And you have to be able to switch into that. Because you're not a pro wrestler when you're waiting at the red light outside the venue.
Yeah.
It's not a complete identity. It's a code that you switch into. And you can be any you can be any size or shape or organization physically in your life, and you can still create a character. You can still create a gimmick. You can still present it. And if you're like, well, hey, I can't physically do those things, you know what? Neither could I. I wasn't Rey Mysterio when I was a kid. I was a fan of Bobby the Brain Heenan because he was telling you the story the whole last time for 3 straight hours. Him and Gorilla Monsoon, or Tony Schiavone when he went to WCW, or JR, or Michael Cole. I could run the list. You know, those are the guys I connected with. Those are the storytellers. Like, there is a role in this thing that you can switch into at any time. And then as you're talking about what's the formula for success, right? And to me, it's the simplest one. You hear all these dumb cliches from like coaches, and I live in the world of sports.
Keep going. Check the camera.
You're okay. Because I live in that world of sports talk where you hear all these like stupid cliches, right? And the cliches are humble and grit and all these things. They're not real. You know, the things that are real to me as I relate it is you have understanding and you have warmth and you have acceptance, and you realize that there's absolutely a way to do a suplex. But there's absolutely multiple ways to interpret how to do a suplex. There's ultimately multiple ways to get that to quote unquote go over with the crowd. And that's the part to me that is so vital, is to understand that there absolutely is not a singular or a solo approach to any aspect of entertainment. The quote is, no, and I know you're aware of this, the customer's always right. But the customer's always right in matters of taste. And that matter of taste is art. The jokes that you tell are not the exact same jokes that Tripp tells. They're not the exact same jokes. I could run the list of guys in town, and everyone enjoys their own flavor of those comedians. And that's the same idea here. You can go out there, be the pro wrestler that you think is best, have the best approach, have the best gimmick. And then when you get in front of a crowd, I promise you, no matter what, outside of your friends and family, you're not going to be someone else's favorite pro wrestler. You know, and the idea that is going to devastate you, that idea that the booking is not accurate enough, well, it's not accurate enough for you. Because I'm telling you, that 13-year-old kid in the front row has a favorite pro wrestler, and it's not Noah Vargas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the young Hispanic guy wearing a mask doing the flips. Well, you know what? Because he's supposed to be here. It's Tony Davis, who is started off in our industry as a bad guy. Now he's a good guy, and he's African American, and he relates to a certain part of the audience. Or it's Turbo Tony, who's from here and looks like individuals from here. Or it's Hobo Hank, who's literally the underdog story his whole life. Like, they all hit differently. So that's my answer. My answer is understand in matters of taste. I promise you're not right. And then on top of that, know how to code switch. Because if you can do those two things, everything else comes easily. Everything else can be taught.
Right.
Those two things you have to have.
Well, I would imagine, I think it's important that you brought up the actual life of any level these pro wrestlers are living outside of the ring, because I feel like that's what keeps you grounded too, and it keeps ego away, it keeps pride away, and it kind of, it's like, you know, it sounds cliche, but like the why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Aside from your own aspirations and proclivities and all of that, it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I am still a human. Yeah. I'm not just this larger-than-life personality that I've concocted for myself that's giving me a varying degree of success. Outside of that, I am just, I'm Noah Vargas. I'm just a guy. Yeah.
I had a cool dad. Like, I have or had a cool brother. Like, these things are still real.
Right.
You know, as you begin to advance your career, too, this is kind of pivoting over to radio a little bit. You know, I first got into radio, and it's the same way anyone gets into any job.
Can I ask you one more question about the pro wrestling stuff? I do want to get to your radio too.
No, you're good.
So when you have these cast of characters, what is your mindset? Because you have to show all your cards, obviously, but like, what's your mindset when you're putting together a story for
great question.
The wrestlers? Are you actually like literally sitting there like writing and like storyboarding things out? Like, what's your
There's a formula.
Are you focusing like an end goal? Like, what do all these things look like when you're putting together a storyline for wrestlers?
Well, if you're asking two questions, there's a formula to how to put together a story. There's a formula to how to deliver a story. But a factor of that you almost have no control over is the individuals. So number one is be someone that can be trusted. Like, do I know you'll be at every show? Like, and let's say you're a guy who's very good. Like, strong possibility if I'm running weekends, you're going to be booked somewhere else. Like, strong possibility, right? So it's how in-depth can I go with a story with a guy that maybe has to miss every other month or every third month or whatever. You know, that's really difficult. When you're running Thursdays, that's a lot easier. The guys are available. But yeah, that's number one. Have a guy you know can trust. And I don't just mean with physically being there. Is he mentally going to be there? Like, what does he do outside of work? Is he a guy I can trust decision-wise? You know, because if you're a guy who wants to go on your social media and say really exciting things about other people, like outside of your character, like I may have slipped here earlier on your podcast with one, but I will never ever just tirade with expletives
Right.
Because I walked in with an Albertsons bag. I need grocery stores to sponsor me.
Yeah.
These are things that matter. Vice versa, are you a guy that I can trust with your health habits? Are you, and I know the world of entertainment, you're always chasing that high. Like attention and positive affirmation create an adrenaline that's similar to amphetamines. Can I trust you to navigate away from that stuff? That's vital to me. And then lastly, and this is a big one, is there a thing you can be rewarded for? Is there, you come up and you wrestle for your 10 minutes and then you go to your merch stand and you try to sell. Those things are all really important. If that's all you do for me, you did the bare minimum and you're my guy. But can you do the national anthem? Can you help me build a ring? Can you set up and tear down chairs? Can you go and do local media when I need you to do appearances? Can you go to Rio Rancho Elementary School and read to the kids at the library? Also, these are things we do. These are important parts of pro wrestling. When if I hand you a stack of tickets and I say, hey, can you move these? X% is yours. Do you move them?
Oof.
That's huge.
Let's talk about that a little bit because you brought up earlier about at the El Rey, again, 300 to 500 people in there. I don't think people can appreciate unless you're in the world of show production. Not saying that I am, but I've produced a couple of local stand-up shows. How fucking hard it is to get people in Albuquerque somewhere. It is a real challenge.
The big issue, which I don't think anyone ever talks about, is you're not going to get anyone to buy a ticket to your event if there's another event in front of it. I want you to come to pro wrestling, Noah. I want all your fans, I want all your listeners to all come to pro wrestling on September the 18th at the historic El Rey Theater. And if I pull up the ticket sales right now, it'll be 100 and some change. No doubt in my mind. But I know we'll end up between 3 and 5. And I know because last night they went to the Offspring. And next week they're going to the Goo Goo Dolls. And this Saturday they're going to watch, I don't know when this is airing, they're going to watch the Lobos win or lose to the Michigan Wolverines. And I can keep running the list of all the things that they're going to do because my audience is like your audience. It's an audience that likes live events. It likes to do things. In that 10 days before your event, that 7 days, a ton of tickets will move. That's how it happens. But with these guys, if this happened to me when I was running comedy here in town, we were running comedy and it was you get your base pay and then you go in ticket incentive, you sell tickets and then you get a cut. This is a formula that I did not create. I promise you it's industry standard and I know how to do it. But these comedians are standing out front of the door of the venue selling their tickets to people standing in line. Oh, how about we never work together again? And how about you get real confused because I never tell you that's the reason? And how about then you tell everyone that Fred's the issue? But you know what I didn't do? I didn't tell that story to anyone. And that's what I look for when I'm writing storylines for guys.
Yeah.
Because you need dudes you can trust.
Yeah.
Pro wrestlers don't want to own pro wrestling companies. They want to pro wrestle. I'm giving you live, local, now bi-monthly pro wrestling in your hometown to be on television. And if you do anything to sabotage that, that is a foolish decision.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Infuriates me.
No, I would have to fucking agree. That's insane. So when...
I thought we were going to be funnier. I'm very funny.
My audience can vary on how funny I am sometimes. Depends on the night. But what I'm curious about, too, is let's say you have because you have this at every event you do.
Sure.
People that show up to it. It might be their first pro wrestling event.
It always is.
Ever, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, in that night, when you're displaying the story that is ongoing, how do you do it in a way where you're catching everybody up in the audience? This is their first time. They're like, hey, here's what's been going on between characters A, B, C, and D. And then without leaving the current fans that have been following, like, okay, let's get through the fucking catch up. Let's get to whatever. How do you balance that? But how do you package that together for everybody?
Yeah, that's kind of a great question. So you tier your audience, right? So they get to the venue, right? We normally have live music playing, which is great. We're setting. I learned that from Donald Trump. So I went to a Trump rally one time.
Okay.
And I'm as progressive and as democratic as any human being you've ever met, but I recognize life spectacles.
Yeah, well, there's something undeniable about everybody. Yeah. And that's his thing.
So we go to this thing in Rio Rancho and there's live music. I go, I'm not at a political rally. I'm at a rock and roll concert.
At a party.
Okay, here I am.
Yeah.
So we start with live music. So you come in. You can get a drink, you can do the merch, you can do the thing. And if it's your first time, you can find your seat, right? Like, so we have someone right there. So we have someone that, hey, let me make you comfortable here. You're about to meet 300 to 500 of your closest friends. So first we create inclusion, because inclusion is gigantic. Once we have them in, the show starts at 7, right? So, I don't know, 6:45, 6:50, TI hits, right? Bring them out. And of course it's me. So I come out. I say hi and hello and welcome to the beautiful and historic El Rey Theater. I, of course, am Fred Slow, and I'm so fortunate to be the owner of this great pro wrestling company, Duke City Championship Wrestling, who's here for the first time. And they raise their hands, and just kids usually, moms, grandmas, we're family friendly. And I say, great, what do you know about Hobo Hank? And they say, the whole crowd, because everyone else, they go, yeah, Hobo Hank. And I go, yeah, it's crazy what happened between him and Thunder, but we'll see what happens tonight. You know, we keep going and go, okay, who's excited to see Thunder? And, you know, boo, you know, I go, I know. You guys just heard him and Hobo Hank are going to have to figure some stuff out tonight. And when this takes minutes, it takes minutes. But you know who the good guys are, you know who the bad guys are. And then we do all these like really clever visual cues. During matches, we have match cards up. So everyone's name's always up there. Everyone's face is always up there. A little inside pro wrestling. I'll give this to everyone listening. When you're looking, bad guys have certain themes. Good guys have certain themes. You pick up on them pretty easy.
Right, archetypes.
So, yeah. Excellent. And so we're constantly presenting that stuff, right? That's a really fun one. When you're coming at the start of the show, hey, all those baby faces are out there welcoming you. Like they're in the crowd. They're there for you. At the end of the night, all those heels go out there and they say, it's time to go. Get out of here. You're not our guys.
That's funny.
You know, pro wrestling is not the 8 minutes curtain to curtain. It's not your shine and your match and your send off.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling is production at 4:00. Pro wrestling is,
Right.
you know, we're doing headshots and promos, and we're creating spectacle. You know, we're Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah. We're not actually doing anything.
Oh, yeah, well, you're covering up a few things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. What I'm curious about, too, is how do you choose? I mean, I'm sure there's, like, strict personality types.
I like T.I. That's why I picked that song. Was that the question?
Almost.
Yeah, sorry.
With baby faces and the good guys and the bad guys, baby faces and the heels.
Yeah.
There's strict personality traits and people. It was like, okay, you're clearly going to be a heel.
A lot of tropes.
You're
Yeah.
clearly going to be a good guy, whatever. But how do you choose when to flip someone?
Oh, you don't.
Or do you just let the storyline progress?
It's chosen
like,
for you.
Clearly now you have to be a dickhead.
Yeah, it's chosen for you.
Okay.
And those guys, we don't. You know, those guys they know when it's time. You know, no, everyone wants a championship. Okay. They don't. Like, hey, this championship belt that we just made up? No. A really brilliant wrestling mind said to me one time, we're not telling stories, we're telling chapters.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. Because when these guys say, hey, man, I think we're at the end of this chapter. Can we read ahead a little bit and see where we're going to end up? The answer is yes. You know, this guy does now need to betray or support or whatever, impact differently. You know, and we'll see what the crowd does with it. But we don't create people's gimmicks. We don't create people's characters. You know, if you want to come in as Pretty City Express, which is a really good tag team from Phoenix, and they're two just dime piece looking dudes that can really go and are talented in every way, no one's going to want to like them. They're going to steal your girlfriend. Like, and those guys go out there, I'll never be able to make them good guys. Like,
Yeah.
they're the worst. They tell you. And then you fill the slots. Like, how many do you need? This many good guys? You need this many bad guys? You know, who's doing really well at those things, or who can we help, you know, who's maybe stuck in between? You know, get this. I'll give you Solly Taylor as an example. For Sale is he's a bad dude. He's a bad human being in the world of professional wrestling with Duke City Championship Wrestling. But I'll say this: Samoans are so hot right now, you can't get anyone to boo them. So you end up in like a super tough spot where you believe, because we're presenting him as doing dastardly things and cowardly things and all the tropes that are, you know, devilish wrestling. But he just looks so cool.
Yeah.
And Roman Reigns is so cool. And Jacob Fatu is so cool. And the Usos are so cool. Like, you could run the list. So it's tough.
Yeah, because it's an interesting thing when you're starting to, because these are basically superheroes. Mm-hmm. They're superheroes without the CGI. Mm-hmm. And when you figure out who's going to go where and who's going to portray who, like, and then even obviously on the big scale of things, Like when John Cena turned heel for a bit this
Yeah.
past year.
I was there. It was the best.
I feel like that brought in a whole swath of people
Yeah.
that maybe only paid attention to John Cena because of his movie career,
Yeah.
or whatever outside of pro wrestling. In maintaining the compelling aspect.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, championship belts, whatever. You need to stay relevant, stay compelling as a character, and then moving from there. And then so to kind of, I'm sure we'll get back into pro wrestling throughout the conversation, but like to kind of book in this a little bit, when you finally do have that conversation with Billy Corgan's organization,
Yeah.
how do you, again, without giving away your marbles,
Yeah.
how do you pitch the value of a local pro wrestling
You're asking
foundation?
a tremendous question again. I can tell you're dialed in on this. They had 6 territories before us, the 7th, and they're all tremendous. They all do really some things very, very well, and they're run by guys who you're familiar with through WWE. They're all personal connections to Billy Corgan. I wasn't. This is the first professional territory that he's brought in that wasn't outside of a strong interpersonal relationship, right? So what you're talking about, that description, we have to super, in the world of pro wrestling, go over on. And the thing...
Can I get another one of these?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that was so easy, most easy to sell,
Thank you very much.
was the support of Duke City. Because this lightning in a bottle that we have was as unique to here as it is anywhere. In cities that are much bigger than ours, Philadelphia, Austin, San Antonio, Tampa, Chicago, they don't draw the way we draw. The city, Albuquerque, the fans here, the passion here is the thing that sold. You could go to these other 6 territories, and NWA National, which does studios in Tampa, and then they do a bunch of stuff around the country. You can go to all these places, and you might be able to, one for one, find a wrestler that's equal or very close to equal of every wrestler we have. But it's that crowd. It's awesome. I went to 2300 Arena for NWA in Philadelphia for the Crockett Cup. So I'm there with I'm there with Dave Crockett, and I'm there, and I'm doing all the stuff, and the crowd starts coming in, and I go, okay, we're on pace. Okay, we're on pace. Okay, we're on pace. But that one did blow out probably 1,200 people. But as we're doing it, I go, we got it here. We got it here in Albuquerque the way that they have it in Philadelphia. We got it here in Albuquerque the way they have it in Detroit, which is monumental. Monumental. Best fan base. That's the answer. That's how we went over. Was we had more passionate fans than anywhere I've ever been.
And that makes perfect sense. And as someone that regularly produces shows, very ingrained in that business side of the business. Do you feel like Albuquerque, one of the kind of what you just alluded to, one of the biggest aspects or one of the biggest advantages that we have here is that there is this feeling or mindset or even like stereotype of Albuquerque where it's like we have nothing to do here and people are just yearning for things to do and people are yearning to like not only go out and have fun, they want to go out and have safe fun because there's this underlying thing of like, okay, yeah, we could go catch a show downtown or we could go to like whatever bar, whatever.
Sure. You're talking about me.
But it's Albuquerque.
I tell you what, though.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a yearning to go out and do something, but they want it to have this, like, okay, we're going to go out and be safe. Too.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to give you a tiered answer. Number one, like, I grew up in East St. Louis. Like, I grew up right outside of East St. Louis. Like, I grew up in the toughest part of the country. St. Louis, Missouri is hard. I lived right outside Oakland for a long time. Oakland is hard. Like, I did radio in Detroit. Detroit is hard.
Yeah.
These are places that violent crime doesn't just exist, it thrives. And then I came here. And I do recognize that this city has social herpes just like anywhere else. I'm not confused. Any of the things you want to go look for, you will find. It is tough to go between San Mateo and Eubank on Central and not see blight because it's there.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And it needs tackled, it needs helped, it needs fixed. But what you're talking about is the only two things we can ever do is we can either support or we can either distract. Those are our only two options. And if there's a way to do both those things, do that. Throw an event that helps. Throw an event that benefits, and then, I run the Boys and Girls Club for a day job. Throw an event that has a charitable benefactor. Be a part of that thing. Those things draw. I don't know a single person that goes to those events and says there's nothing going on in town. Because when I threw a car show last weekend with Mannheim, used to be Cox Automotive, they're off South Broadway, and they bring in hundreds of people for a car show to support the Boys and Girls Club, there's something going on that day, isn't there?
Right.
Because you're helping people. And I'm going to tell you that's the trick here, too. The trick is there is something to do. And don't let the townie that you grew up with that is afraid to get out in front of the 65-inch TV that they spent their hundreds of dollars on. Because I get that you're comfortable at home. Isolation is addictive. Stagnation is addictive. That works really, really well for people. But when we sat down to create pro wrestling, we didn't sit down to create pro wrestling. We sat down to create a kickball league. Or excuse me, a wiffle ball league. Because there's no wiffle ball league here. I said, I'll just make a wiffle ball league. I ran one for years. It'll be fine. We'll do golden stick. It'll be the whole thing.
No shit. Wiffle ball?
I ran wiffle ball in St. Louis forever.
What landed you on wiffle ball?
No one was doing it. So it was, what can I create? Because you grew up playing it. I grew up playing it. Everyone listening here immediately just went to a memory of their childhood, and they still think they can do it. And when me and Aaron Burnett sat down, I said, hey, man, I really like working with you. You got a lot of talent. I took him to a Super Bowl. He did really good on some stuff. He just impressed the heck out of me. And I said, I want to start this wiffle ball league. And he says, why on the El Rey? Like, why don't we just do pro wrestling? I say, yeah, let's do that. Like, that's a... I didn't start pro wrestling because I love pro wrestling. I started pro wrestling because pro wrestling wasn't here prominently. Now, there were some organizations that were doing stuff that was really good, but it wasn't the TV vision. It wasn't the live event vision that I had.
When there wasn't a lot of... because I didn't even know pro wrestling was a thing here until you guys started. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of word of mouth. The closest thing to pro wrestling that I, again, peripherally knew about in Albuquerque before you guys was the midget wrestling at either El Rey or I think at Dirty Bourbon.
Dirty Bourbon. And it's always there. Not anymore. That's a tough crowd. They all have felonies. Like, it's hard to work with them.
But that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I knew about in Albuquerque. And then started seeing all the Duke Cities. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. There's a rich history here. I could give you all of it, including Mike London and the history of pro wrestling here, and all the way up to Destiny Pro Wrestling, which ran for like 15 years, and they were tremendous, and they had their last show in 18. And then there was a bunch of other promotions that they did really well. They did really well. And there's Duke State Championship Wrestling, which I'm in the ownership group of. Phase 1 is currently going on as well. It's owned by the guy that used to own Destiny, and he's doing really well. But we're doing two different things, and I like the idea that those things can run parallel. Can I run odd months and you run evens? Let's go. Like, there's a fellowship here, and that's, I think, one of my favorite parts of pro wrestling is there's a fellowship. And, to put a bow on the live event stuff you're talking about, I know people go to things. I go to the things. I see the people. I was joking about that television earlier. I don't have a Netflix account. Like, if you're like, hey, Freddie, what's the thing you want to do tonight? The answer is not rewatch a movie I saw already.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I already saw it. I have zero interest.
You don't have one comfort movie?
Are you serious?
Yeah, dead serious.
No, I don't have autism.
Well.
Or maybe I don't have it to that degree. No, absolutely not. Never one time have I been like, I'm really worried that John Connor is going to get away this time. He always gets away.
Terminator 2 is one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, says everyone that doesn't go out all the time.
Come on now.
I'm telling you, brother. And now I know you're a fan of entertainment. I'm in your studio. I'm looking at all your things. All your things. Justice League, I saw that. It was not good.
Ah, what a shame.
Batman and Superman, I saw that. It was...
We don't have time to debate Zack Snyder right now. I'll lock the door from the inside. Give you my 3-hour dissertation while he's the God's gift to man.
And that 3 hours that you gave it to me in, still shorter than a Zack Snyder film.
If he had it his way, this is very true.
Yeah. You know what I want? To be entertained, and then I want to go home. I want to see my lady. Like, these are the things I want. But it's wild to me, that narrative. But I don't think it's a transplant narrative. I think it's a townie narrative.
No, it definitely is. I mean, it's the Lana Manana. It's definitely it's a home brewed narrative for sure. People that come in don't have that because when I mean, especially like at least I feel I haven't. I mean, I'm born and raised here in Albuquerque. I have not moved yet, but when I go visit, I don't go visit and just go hang out at the Airbnb or whatever. You go to a place to explore. That's your natural proclivity is to go out and do that. Yeah. And for all the negatives that were really potential negatives that people coming and moving into Albuquerque could bring, I think that's the good part about it is that the more people that come into Albuquerque, they want to explore, find live events, find things to do, and that only just thrives and bolsters the city up.
There are 7 days in a week, and I can tell you something fun to do on all 7.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to allow yourself to enjoy those things? I don't know.
I think that's a big part of it, too. That's a great point, is allowing yourself to, yeah. You're completely right about that.
Now, pro wrestling? You mean that thing that my sister's weird boyfriend likes? Yeah, and you will, too.
I'm so glad that stereotype has mostly died. Because I remember growing up as a kid saying, like, because it was this guy that my mom was seeing for a long time that introduced me to pro wrestling.
Sure, that tracks.
And I was like, man, this is cool. They're just beating the shit out of each other. This is awesome. And then I go to like elementary school. And I'm like, I saw, did you watch fucking Raw this past weekend? Like, pro wrestling's fake. And then that never tracked with me because I was like, okay, maybe, but that dude's bleeding.
Yeah.
Profusely. He's got hit with a barbed wire bat.
Sure.
I don't know how fake you can. And then he just fell off the ladder onto the.
Yeah.
Gravity's not. That doesn't track. Okay, it's scripted. Sure.
The Undertaker throwing Mankind 16 feet off Hell in a Cell at King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Is as fake as the dragons in Game of Thrones. It's as fake as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters.
Except when Mankind actually fell, he like.
Well, they tell that story now. I assure you it was fine. And that's the point I'm trying to get to, right? It's, feel free to suspend disbelief. Like, here's the thing. Amy Schumer doesn't really get John Cena. That's just in a movie.
Well, Amy Schumer also is not funny.
So. Adam Sandler doesn't get A, B, C, D, E, F, and G in his films. But you suspend disbelief for that, and you're going to tell me you can't believe for 1 second that Fallen Gray doesn't have a chance to beat Zamaya for the women's championship? I promise you she does. And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous that it's not real is the argument.
Right.
Yeah. You know what else is not real is Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. I won't quote it here. Figure it out.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's not real. You ever dated a gal with a kid?
No.
Okay, it's wild.
No, I have not.
They say to you, you ever dated a guy with a dog?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a dog? No, you have a clean apartment. And they say to you, what do you know? You don't have a dog? And you go, doesn't mean I'm not familiar with dogs.
Right.
Idiot. You don't have a kid? What do you know? It doesn't mean I'm not familiar with children. Idiot. It's the same thing here. It's not real. Doesn't mean I'm not familiar with theater.
Right, exactly.
Idiot.
So what I'm curious about, too, with your career in radio is what got you interested in radio in the first
Nothing.
place?
That's the stupidest question you've asked.
No way.
It's like anything else. Somebody asked me to do it. Somebody just asked me to do radio.
It's like, oh, you might be good at it?
Yeah. I was going to a junior college trying to hoop. You know how tall I am. Anyway, so I got this broken leg. So I can't hoop. Whatever. My body doesn't work right. So there's this coach. He's nice. I don't really know him. And then there's this guy that runs all the student radio programming stuff or whatever. And he's like, hey, Fred, recognize that you're super broken or whatever. That sucks. He's like, would you have any interest in broadcasting the high school football game of the week? WLCA 89.9. And I go, sure. I got nothing else going. And this is 2003.
And you're out in St. Louis?
Out in St. Louis.
Okay.
So he comes to me and I'm like, yeah, his name is Mike Lemons. I'm like, yeah, Mike, I'm in. Sends me to a game. So it's the Granite City Warriors, and they're taking on the Edwardsville Tigers. And these are the two big ones. This is the game of the week. In 2003, it's a sound mixer that came over on the Mayflower, and it's plugged into a Nokia 5150 cell phone that you don't have to charge during the broadcast. And and I call the station through the phone. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, and bring or whatever. So somebody patches. I couldn't tell you the guy's name. So I'm in. I'm on the radio. That's it. That's all my training. That's the whole thing. And kickoff's coming. It's the WLCA 89.9 high school game of the week. And it's Granite City versus the Tigers. And the kicker, I couldn't tell you his name for Granite City, but he's a big boy. This is a big boy out there. So he goes and he gets, and I go, all right, Granite, and I'm terrible. I'm very good now. I was the voice of Highlands for a long, New Mexico Highlands University. I've done a bunch of stuff, but I wasn't when I started. And I go, welcome to the game of the week. My name is Manfred Slope. My legal name's Manfred. My name is Manfred Slope. All the callers are like, what's his name? Mike Clemens is like, hey, you should just be Fred moving forward. So then I go, Granite City Warriors are hosting the Edwardsville Tigers in Orlando for the kickoff, and he gets all of his weight into that one. That's how I started broadcasting. I started by making fun of the kicker's weight because I didn't know what to do. And I knew I didn't want to be Pat Summerall. Like, I knew that. I wanted to be Dennis Miller, but I wasn't because I'm doing play-by-play. And I started, and I did the season, and then I did the junior college basketball season, and then I did high school basketball, and then I do all these things. And at the very end, I made no money. I made $0.
Right.
But I did it. That was it. I could have retired. I did it. I was a radio guy. I wasn't really a radio guy. I started moving around the country. I'm like traveling the country. I'm driving around. I'm going to go to all 50 states. That's my plan. I got one left. I'm going to Alaska next month. That's a humble brag. So I'm driving around the country, and I go to these places. Every time I needed money, I'd stop in at a place. I'd be like a YMCA or whatever, and I go, hey, do you want to capture these kids' memories? Because I could do it.
What a damn good pitch that is.
Yeah, I'm like, they only get this 1 year of Little Tyke basketball. And I could, if you wanted, I could record this. And they go, okay, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a really good idea. And I go, cool. It's wild. It only costs $200 or whatever. I was like a broke kid. And they're like, these parents all have $20 a piece.
Right.
Here you go. And I would go in with a little camera, and I would move it back and forth, and I would record, and I would talk into a microphone. And if their names were right on the roster, I would get them right on the broadcast. And I never watched the action. I just knew where the ball was. So I would move the camera with the ball. So there was no zoom, there was no whatever, but I'd be able to do the play-by-play by eye and then like read it off the thing. So it was have microphone will travel. So then I did that for years until I eventually settled back into St. Louis, Missouri. After college, did a bunch of college radio stuff too. That's a whole other story. But then, started working at KMOX and KFNS and doing a ton of stuff with the Cardinals and the Blues and University of Illinois and the University of Missouri. And I was the broadcaster for the St. Louis Ambush, which was maybe one of my favorite things in my whole career at indoor soccer. But it draw 5,000 people a game. It was like gigantic. I was so fortunate to get an opportunity with Dynamo Pro Wrestling. I was the voice of them for a long time, which was awesome. Not Dynamo Pro, that's not right. St. Louis Anarchy. And it was just cool. It was cool to have a microphone. And then I've always had a day job alongside, right? So I ran a Boys and Girls Club, which I currently do. I ran a Park and Rec for a lot of years. By degree, I'm a teacher. I'm not actually a teacher.
No shit.
Yeah. And then I maintained those two balances forever. And then traumatic life-changing events came to Albuquerque, and I'm a liar, Noah. I'm a piece of shit liar. I said to myself, I'm out. I said I want anonymity. I yearn for anonymity. I said that to myself. I drove out here. I said I don't need to be the president of the Rotary, and I don't need to run the Boys and Girls Club, and I don't need to have a personality or a public persona or host all these banger events that raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for these charities. I just had a meeting yesterday about the Make-A-Wish. I hosted Make-A-Wish, or I host Rio Grande Down syndrome Network, or I've been fortunate to do a bunch of stuff with juvenile diabetes, and now the job with the Boys and Girls Club, and the stuff we've done for the YMCA and Locker 505 and Big Brothers Big Sisters. These are all things. These aren't just things I'm saying. These are all organizations we made a ton of money for because people come out for those events. And I said, I'm a liar. I'm exactly where I was. Why did I do that? Why did I lie? Not to you, Noah. You don't care. Not to your fans, to myself. And I can't even like call anyone to apologize. It's me. Like, because there's an addiction here. I've never done drugs. I don't know. I know we're transitioning here. I don't know if you do drugs. I've never done drugs because I have this positive affirmation thing. It's like an addiction. It's awful. And then you get your dashboard lights and you got to come down. It sucks.
When did you figure out that you are proficient on a microphone? Because everything that you just described. Because I feel like when you are doing your job, whether you're hosting a pro wrestling event or you're on a broadcast, everything surrounding that it basically pays off when you're doing that thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it all pays off on that because you have to go, like you're saying, you have to go pitch yourself to NWA. You have to go be able to raise money for these organizations. You have to have a silver tongue. When did you find that was developing? Because I know for me, when it was actually a conversation for me when I found out that happened. It was in 2000. It was the beginning of 2019. Very beginning of 2019. I got a job because I went to a military school down in Roswell, New Mexico. And
I broadcast for NIMI so many times.
Yeah, so I went to there for 4 years of high school, 2 years of college. About a year break between graduation, and I went back down there to work because I needed a job bad, and the rent was fucking due.
Yeah.
And so I go down there, and I work as a recruiter for their, I was at the college, was helping out the RBC department.
Understood.
A friend of mine got me a job there or whatever, just helped me, threw me a bone. It was like, hey, just don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
It's a super easy job. Don't fuck it up. But she saw how the way I was speaking not only to applicants, but like these fucking lieutenant colonels and all these people that ran the program, like, oh, you know how to speak to people.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing that. I was like, well, that's a good skill, I feel like. When did you feel yourself developing that skill?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's about value. I had these really simple concepts and they work, right? Number one, you have to give effort. And that's like the shortest one. So you don't get to that level of what you're talking about, which is understanding of a skill set, without putting in. I don't know. We could pull up the 2 Men On podcast. There's like 100,000 hours there or something crazy, right? In my professional career, and you as you're doing it, you say, can I check my own boxes before I worry about other people checking them for me? So it's before I even got to where you're at. I go, who's more equipped? Who's better equipped? Who can problem solve this thing? Because I didn't think I had it in the beginning. I thought in the beginning, I said this for years. I was the mix of technical understanding and talent. And I'm looking at your studio setup right now. I know exactly what's going on because I learned it. But not everyone does that. Because everyone, I think, wants to get into the industry with an idea. I'm being very blanketed. I think a large percent of people want to get into the industry with the idea that the thing they're about to say has more value than the next person's thing. They're really excited about hearing their own voice. They have this idea that they can lead people through direction or whatever. I'm going to tell you, I think it's the opposite. I think what it is, it's supported distraction. I talked about this earlier. Can you identify what a person needs? Can you read a person? And if you can, that's a skill I would encourage you to not abuse. And I could give you a million examples of church pastors and presidents and individuals that have this exact same skill.
Was at that point it's exploitation.
That's what it is. And you say, well, if I can't support you, can I distract you? And then you find that narrative and it's showing value, right? So you say to me, hey, I'm real sad, my dog died. Okay. That sucks. Do you need money for a funeral or do you need a beer to laugh?
Right.
Because I can do either. And I can do that because there's a value, there's a trust. So when I knew how I could differentiate those things. When I knew that not every conversation I was having was the exact same version of a conversation I had previously. It's not Fred Slow, the character on radio. It's not Fabulous Freddie Fame, the professional promoter. It's not when I go to NIMI and I have to resist doing my gay for the stay jokes or whatever because it's military life.
Well, I was going to ask, what did you do for NIMI?
Football and basketball.
No shit. Yeah. What years?
A bunch of them. Every time ESPN goes down there, they call me. So when ESPN comes and does the junior college spotlight thing of the whatever, There's only a handful of us kind of in the state that have that industry recognition. So I've done it. I did it with Tyler Ortega one time, who's lovely. He's the voice of the United, wildly talented. He's from Santa Rosa, itty bitty little town, and he's awesome. And then I did another one with Josh Sushan, voice of the Isotopes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's top tier, in his own way too. So I'm just fortunate to just sit on the very bottom skimming part of the cream, and
Hey, you're part of the dance.
yeah, I'm so lucky. Like, I'm in the mix is what I always call it. I'm in the mix.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's when I did name it. I mean, outside of UNM, I've done everything in this community. And the issue with UNM has been, I was the broadcaster for New Mexico Highlands for a bunch of years too. And it was, at least from their perception, I think a conflict, but
That's for Taos, right?
Las Vegas.
No,
Las
Vegas. Right.
Yeah.
Vegas. Yeah.
I mean, definitely Drew from Taos, but yeah, that's the short of it is, I didn't want to work hard and I did a good job of expressing value. And these are things that I've been fortunate to make a bunch of money at. But then you blow it, you start pro wrestling companies. I looked at the books very recently. We're opening a gym. This is a little bit of breaking news here. So we're opening a gym off San Mateo and Manal.
No shit.
And we're going to make the announcement on Labor Day.
Okay.
So I don't know what time this is going to drop.
This will be out after Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it'll already be out. And none of that's entertainment. That's sweat and hard work. And I go, but I think that's what I want. I think I don't always want to punch in. I think I want to be able to, handle that part and worry about ACH payments and worry about contracts and worry about, and also I might be a liar. Also my partner, she is a whiz at that stuff. How much more enjoyable is your work-life balance when you only have life? Let's include everyone.
So what does the logistics look like for opening up a pro wrestling gym? Because I only know just a surface level of opening a gym because I was good friends with the original owner of Legion Iron.
Sure.
And then when he passed and Sean took over, I was there with him kind of on the side.
Sean seems very nice. I've met him.
He is one of the most down-to-earth individuals you will ever meet.
I went in there to try to put the gym in there. To try to put the ring in there. They didn't have the space. They were doing they have a really cool setup.
Yeah.
You need a good partnership. You need a good space. We found one. And there's this little boutique. This is not all super forward-facing, but there's this Dallas, Texas level boutique gym on San Mateo and all. And we went in and I'm like, hey, I guess it's primarily me. I went in and I'm like, hey, you have this really great space. Like, talk to me about your membership. And they're like, it's these numbers. This is what we draw, this, that. And I go, well, cool. For this amount of money, I'd really like to utilize this space. And by the way, my guys can have access to the gym. And they're like, deal. It's like, that's a doable one. So really it was about showing value, and being warm. And then on top of that, you got to bring them in, right? So where are the entertainers that want to do it through the form of pro wrestling? Does Noah Vargas want to add pro wrestling to his rap sheet of talents? And then when we do a Lucha and Laughs, you're a vital part of that. If it's like Gianna Hernandez is really good at this kind of stuff. There's a couple guys that are really good. And, that's the idea. It's, where do you find the young bloods who are excited about it? Where do you find the guys that are already in entertainment that want to add the skill set? And then on top of that, how do you take that revenue and then, in theory, reinvest it into the product the way that we have pro wrestling? But I think it's going to work. It's a different ownership group than the pro wrestling company proper, but it's one I really trust. So find good partners and then try to be honest, try to be transparent. That's what we have. And especially and I think this a little bit too, and I know I'm on a rant. When you get into the public eye, there is this fixation on derailing that from individuals that aren't you.
What do you mean?
I'll just give you an example. Somebody listening to my radio show every single day thinks that they can do radio better than me, and I'm the worst. Someone going to my pro wrestling promotion every single show thinks that my pro wrestling promotion sucks, and then I'm the worst. someone, and we can keep going, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's like a blinder to it. Because I mean, I know what's actual. I know what's honest and real. But like, I have felt if you don't combat that stuff, number one, no one sees it. Because often the people that are producing that stuff don't have an audience. And then two, you only get one energy. I can put one energy into making a pro wrestling, or I could put one energy into fighting. I don't want to fight.
I'm the same exact way.
I have one energy.
I'm not going to say who, but there's a friend of mine in town that does comedy with me. And about once a week, I'm like, dude, you are a D1 hater.
Yeah.
Like, you need to let that shit go, man. It's not servicing you in any way. Let them do their thing. And if they don't like you, like, it's one thing if you do something to actually wrong someone and you may or may not have to write that, whatever. But let them do their thing, you do your thing. Exactly what you're bringing up. What if it's other people coming from the angle of, oh, I see what fucking Fred's doing over there.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. I can do it better. The only thing that's going to come out of you giving that acknowledgement is you're bolstering that, because now people on your platform have eyes on there, and it just gets weird, and it's like, what's the point?
No, there's no point. And there's no audience.
And guess what? And the people on the inverse of that, what I think is important, is you brought this up earlier about pro wrestling being in the city being a fellowship.
Yeah.
If there are other people in the same sphere that you are, and they start doing their thing, and hey, maybe they're talented at it, they're good at it, then look, it's not a famine, it's a feast.
Yeah.
There is enough for everybody. We can work together. We can bolster all what we're doing to make it bigger than it would have been just on like these island mentalities, and it's like, oh, we're all fighting it. There's no point in doing that.
No, there's no point.
No point in doing that.
There's this analogy I use all the time, and it's, regardless of your opinion, there's these analogies I use where it's podcasting is better when This American Life is doing well, because all other podcasts are doing well. College football is better when Notre Dame is doing well, because all the rest of college football will do well. Pro wrestling is better when WWE is doing well, because the rest of pro wrestling will do well. And the idea that any individual thinks that they have the formula to buck the system to do it, you're wrong, which is like wildly unfortunate. I know a lot of stand-up comedians in town, and I've, to varying degrees, found success professionally with people, but I would say I haven't. I would say of the people I've tried to work with, or the people I've given opportunity or presented value to, they by choice fail. And earlier I was talking to you, I'm very black and white on a lot of stuff, and it's by choice or circumstance. The only two reasons I do anything.
Yeah.
Because I want to or I have to. Outside of that, miss me.
Yeah.
Like, period. And you find these people, and these are the people we're talking about, where the people who often are successful are the people that can disregard that. Recognize there's not value in that source. That's that same overarching concept. My co-host on my radio show, his name's Van Nunley. He's my business partner. He's the only man I've ever loved. He is as significant in my life as anyone has ever been. And he has that thing. When someone says, hey, your afternoon show is not as good as the midday show or the morning show or this competitor's show, he will, without missing a beat, say, well, that's wild that you're so familiar with our show. So that's my guy.
That's a great fucking attitude.
Yeah.
That's a great attitude.
Yeah. Tell me what else you don't know about. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're talking a little bit off the podcast, but what's going on with Two Men On?
Shoot. I'd say entertainment's wild, because you go until you get fired, like everywhere.
Till the wheels fall off.
To every single one of them. There's not a single person, and I know you got a lot of industry listeners, so I think this might hit home, where it's like, you go up until the point that they don't want you anymore. And in radio, it's about 5 years. You got a 5-year one. If you don't, there have been some serious concessions along the way. But I said serious, and my phone is obsessed with me. But yeah, that's where the show's currently at. So we started with Talk ABQ back in 2019. Talk ABQ was great. Local spotlights, kind of all the stuff we were doing, weekend brokering, which I love. Like, I will pay you to be here and I will sell advertising because I like selling advertising, and you can leave me alone. And eventually that advertising number gets too high and you draw some attention. And then, we moved to the daily format, and that's when we abandoned Talk ABQ and went to 2 Men On. 2 Men On, obviously a baseball phrase, but there's a euphemism there, right? And we jumped in that. We did it for 5 years, and we literally before the podcast, we, the day, just for the listener at home, we're recording on August the 27th. So, 2 days ago, we do all of our discontinuation paperwork. We go, hey, we're going to go up until the end of the month. Labor Day is going to hit. Obviously, that's national programming here on CBS Sports Radio. But then on Tuesday, we're not going to be there. It's time. This thing is involved to the point it could evolve with the support it had around it. And it's what are other options? Is it iHeartRadio? Is it AGM? Is it NPR? Is it ESPN? And these are all networks I can name because I have relationships with all of them. And there's no friend of the show, anyone listening, the non-competes are not real. I promise you. Like, I cannot stress this to you enough. If your boss tells you, because you work at Walmart, that they will fire you if you go and work at Target, they will. That's okay. That's not what a non-compete is. But if you lose a job while working at Walmart, you can the next day go work at Kmart. I promise you.
Quick side note. It's funny you say it. It's so funny you bring that up. So I just got, I'm not going to say obviously what company, but the company I work at recently got promoted. Thanks fucking God. My wallet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I was signing all the new HR paperwork for the position that I'm assuming. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to treat this like iTunes. Like, I'm going to actually read through what I'm signing. And technically speaking, I don't know how well they would ever follow up on it, but technically, if for whatever reason I left the position, fired, resigned, whatever, by the contract that I signed, not only is it a non-compete agreement with where I couldn't go work for any other company that's in the same sphere that my company's in, I would also have to, for 12 full months, update the company I'm working at right now. I'd have to let them know, like, hey, I went to go work for this other place. Or now I'm working here, and now I'm working here. And
if they're paying you.
For 12 fucking months, I'd have to... That's what it said in the thing that I signed.
Oh, I promise you.
Yeah.
The only way you can keep me from is if you're compensating me.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's... The FCC ruled on this with entertainment specifically, but that doesn't mean that, all the time I had at CBS Sports Radio, I wasn't going to go work for ESPN Local. Like, I wasn't going to do that. That's a gross move. Could now.
Right.
And, that's the way, entertainment works. I don't know what you listen to terrestrially or your listeners, but, the guys who are best in radio are guys who got fired from TV. The guys that run everything socially for all these sports teams are guys who got fired from TV. It's just how life is.
Right.
Here. Also in the business, a lot of people say small world, they say small business, and you just can't betray the people in it.
Yeah.
Because once you do, you cook yourself.
Well, you also never know who you're going to turn back into, or who you're going to run back into years down the line. Who's connected to who knows who. Like that was a piece of advice that I got. About a year and a half, 2 years ago from Sarah Kennedy. She had told me that previous owner of Dry Heat when that was open.
We've done business.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, and she was like, the distance between you and your favorite comedian is not as far as you think it is. And at the time, I was like, maybe fucking, I don't know, 7 months into comedy. And I was like, that's me and Dave Chappelle, that's a load of shit. Year and a half later or so, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm one step removed from Rogan, Hinchcliffe, Theo Vaughn. I'm like, oh, it's that small. Holy shit. Well, so yeah, you'll never know who you run into or who knows who. And it's also, even if that wasn't a part of the equation, just fucking don't be a dick.
Ever.
Generally.
And then, like I said, when it surrounds you, remove yourself. You ever been on a first date and they're like, I hate this, I hate that, I hate...
Yes.
And you go, well, I gotta go. I have to go. Like, it's... Like, you're not an authority in my emotion.
Right.
Like, what are you trying to control here?
You just don't want to be around that. Or it's like, is this life... Is life going to be with you just everything we dislike?
Yeah.
Just talking about that all just evolve... Yeah, it's nasty.
It's nasty.
One thing I am curious about, and I don't even know if it's even been a thought to you as the mayoral elections have been progressing. You said you're friends with Darren White.
Yeah, business partners.
So, business partners, but I haven't seen and maybe I just haven't been paying attention or it's not my algorithm. I haven't seen you just outright endorsing or promoting or whatever.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision to do that?
You're asking a great question.
You know what I mean? Because there's obviously, because if you're friends with somebody, you want to support them on whatever. But then it's also like, well, you have, and again, in entertainment, you have your own brand, you have your own thing going, and you said yourself, you're very much part of the left wing side of things.
Yeah.
So it's like, where was that ever not to get too personal, like, was that ever a thought to you, a conversation? Like, we're friends, but I'm gonna remove myself from this part of our lives. Like,
no, these are all great questions. How fortunate I've been to break bread with Tim Keller. How fortunate I've been to break bread with Mei Ling. How fortunate I've been to break bread with Darren.
Mei Ling's great.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
You know, how fortunate I've been to show warmth to all these people. But you're like, hey, Freddie, I haven't seen in my algorithm your endorsement. I think, why don't I have personal social media? Like my products do. Duke City Championship Wrestling does. Two Men On does. The Boys and Girls Club does. Fred Slow does not. Fred Slow's 40 years old, and I'm not a loser. Like, I'm not about to sit on my computer and desk scroll on my phone through updates from my ignorant hometown, does not support me as a fan, definitely is not my friend community, and have them tell me about how I should use my platform to support Donald Trump. So you'll never see Fred Slow on social media do anything, because Fred Slow on social media does not exist. I got into a thing today on social media where it's just a lot of vitriol about me. I'm not involved in any of those conversations. I don't even exist.
Yeah.
And I go, well, hey, this is a fabulous story. The people that know me personally call, and they go, yeah, these stories are all fabulous. I go, and they go, what do you think about it? I go, nothing.
Right.
Like you're telling me these people posting in anonymity, creating a narrative with a name that can easily be associated with, and I need to pause my output for the day?
Right.
There's a lot of confusion here.
Direct attention to this. Yeah.
You know what I need to do? Come see my friend Noah and do his podcast. You know what I need to do? Wrap up my radio show and give a really nice handshake to Jason York at the Recognition Place for hosting us. Those are the things I need to do.
Right.
You know what I don't need to do? Combat the argument that I went on a date with Fred Slow one time and he didn't respect my political viewpoints. You're right. I probably didn't. I probably made jokes. I've been there 8 years, and my first 5 years were, that's not accurate. My first 4 years were bad. I wasn't healthy. Do you see a mental health professional?
I used to.
I would encourage you to.
Yeah, I used to. For me, it's because I think the best way it was ever described to me, I think that's the best blanket term for it, mental health professional. Mm-hmm. The way it's described to me is that, yes, it's a case-by-case basis on how it applies to everyone, but their job is to give you the tools to fix whatever is going on. They don't fix it for you. They give you the tools to do it. And for me, the way that I found that it best applies is it's as a as-needed basis.
Okay.
Because the last time that I was seeing one, he was a great guy, but I found myself, like, as I, again, received the tools to figure out the nonsense that was going on in my life at the time, as I found myself being able to repair that, handle that, carry it, move forward, what was going on, as I continued going back, because it was once a week.
Sure.
I was like, well, I kind of feel like I'm complaining at this point. Like, I would walk in there, and it would just be like, all right, what do I have to talk about? I'd have to, like, find things that I needed to. No, this is real.
Oh, okay.
I know this is 100% real. I'd have to, like, find things to, like, figure out. You know what I mean? Or, like, find things to be upset.
Love that.
Or not be upset about, but just, you know what I mean? If you want to find the funny part about this, what made me finally, like, not see that person anymore is he fell asleep on me middle of the session.
I love this.
Yeah. That's the funny part of it, is he actually fell asleep on me in the middle of the session. I was like, all right, now I know for a fact. Yeah. So I was like, all right, this is my sign from God. Because I was thinking about it, praying on it a lot. I was like, I don't know if I need to keep doing this. And then that happened. I was like, all right, that's, we're done here.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that definitive end stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like so much of our lives don't have that, and I think it's really difficult when you try to introduce it to people because they're so very open to the idea that it's always open, and it's not. The placement we all have for each other is specific. and I've traveled the country a ton, and I've now lived here longer than I've lived anywhere. But, I have these, and I know we're getting close because I guess we're going to do a multi-episode one here. But but I have all these examples of like my most treasured memories, and these can be professional or personal or intimate or otherwise, and they are filled with people that I choose to forget, and it's wild.
Well, I also think too that you being where you're at, anyone being where they're at in their lives, that's only as specific as they want it to be. Because there are a lot of people that either consciously or subconsciously just kind of float through life, go through emotion, go through routines, don't put a whole lot to it, and then just getting by. And then there's intentionality behind people's actions where it's like, no, I am here for a reason, or I'm doing these things for a purpose, or they may be searching for that purpose. But either way, there's still an action that's being taken. And I think it goes to a bigger idea that life only has so much as importance as you want to put on it, right? Because I've met so many people that are just like, oh, we're just here. There's no reason for it, and it's just all happenstance, and they kind of just look at life very flippantly. And then on the other end of that spectrum, it's, well, no, we're all here for a purpose, and everything has meaning, and we need to blah, 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 blah. And I think that there is a happy medium that moves more towards the intentional part of it, where it's like, no, life is a very beautiful thing. But I think as you grow up and as you experience things and as both beautiful and horrible things happen to you, you kind of have to like remind yourself of that. Because it's very easy, you were saying that earlier, it's very easy to fall into something that's comfortable. It's very easy to stay home and go with whatever you're doing and not go out and find things. But I think you have to remind yourself like, no, this life that I've been given is pretty awesome. And I have free will.
Yeah.
I can go do whatever I want. Now, they have consequences.
Often.
Life has consequences, good and bad, but you can do whatever you want. You can work towards whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing.
If you're willing to put the bookends of don't harm yourself and don't harm others on that, I think your formula is exactly correct.
I agree.
And, as we kind of bring it home here, the idea to me, Noah, that we have opportunity to follow our passion, right? Mine happens to be in the world of entertainment. But if yours is any hobby, any experience in life, right? If you're fortunate enough, the way that I have been, to turn your hobbies into a money-making enterprise, I would encourage you to never do it because it sucks all of it out. And if I was in a position in my life where I had unlimited funds and I had time to a degree that I've never understood it to be free, I would sit and I would invite you over because I think you're lovely, and I would build Legos with you, and I would laugh with you, and I would let you watch Terminator 2 times in a row. But we can't.
Right.
Because we have associated all of our efforts in life for the two motivators we have, which is sex or money.
Well, that's a very real thing.
Speaking of money, if any of your listeners enjoyed this Duke City t-shirt I'm wearing, you can go to shopdukecity.com, official supporter of Fred Slow. This is their university print. It's got the Hulk Hogan colors. I don't know if you see it.
It will also be in the description below.
There you go. No, you're very good at this.
No, I do my best.
Yeah, let's do one where I can ask you questions.
Oh, I'd love to.
I like that.
I'd love to. Dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah, you're very kind.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Where can everyone find basically everything, social media, platforms, websites?
Everything is at Talk ABQ. So wherever you go for stuff, find at Talk ABQ. We will be there in some capacity, especially with the rebranding coming up. And then everything we do pro wrestling is at NWA New Mexico or at Duke City Championship Wrestling. Both of those things exist. If you join our YouTube, we're so fortunate to have a monetized YouTube. It helps us out in so many cool ways.
That's awesome.
But the cliche, it costs you $0 to like, share, updo, whatever your way is. Do that thing for us because that translates to actual monies, which is incredible, the world we live in, algorithm-wise. And then if there's any part of your audience that's excited about a show, dccwtickets.com. I'll create a little promo code. I'll send it to you for the description. But yeah, well, I don't know. Do you want to call it improvised or something?
Yeah.
Improvised could be a good promo code. So,
Yeah.
So we'll create a little promo code. We'll give all your listeners a little % off for the next wrestling show, September the 18th.
September 18th. Yeah. Now, and I should be able to make it to that. So I don't have anything in September yet. So that'd be awesome.
Okay. You don't buy a ticket. Just call me.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll plus one you in.
You're very kind.
Yeah, we'll do something fun. Thank you. You're a pro.
Dude, thank you very much. It means a lot coming from you. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you like what you've seen here, please share it with as many people as possible. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help out the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon, which I have coming soon.